ultimately for you, why did you leave WWE after 8 years?
Well, I mean, I think there's really like a number of different reasons, but ultimately what I kind of come down to is that I felt like I had checked off every box there of things that I wanted to do. I got to do so much during my time there, from, starting off doing interviews to working with Mean Gene Okerlund and being able to like learn from a man like him and be able to like kind of follow in those footsteps, to hosting kickoff shows for every pay-per-view, for WrestleManias, for SummerSlams, to jumping on commentary and getting to be the first woman to do that within WWE, to go to Saudi Arabia and be the first woman to be a part of that. There's so many things that I got to be a trailblazer for that I look back on so fondly. But also, there are still other things that I really wanted to do. And I think with my skill set and the dreams that I want to achieve, I was not going to achieve them there.
Do you recall when you started to realize that, your time was coming to an end, when you started to feel like, all right, at some point very soon, I'm going to leave this place?
Yeah. And you know what? It actually came in different waves because, God, I mean, now in this time frame, probably about 5 years ago, I had asked for my release from WWE and I wasn't granted it.
Really?
Yeah. And this was before I did commentary. This was before I did a lot of other things. And I'm glad that I didn't leave at that point. I'm glad that I was not granted my release because, my resume wouldn't be what it is today if I had left during that point. But, I think for me, it was really like, I still sort of had stars in my eyes, and I still have stars in my eyes about things that I want to do with my career. And I kept feeling like I was hitting a wall of being told that I cannot be a star within this company. Because it was not about me. And I get that because I'm the broadcaster. I'm like the personality. I'm not the wrestler. I understand. I'm not putting asses in seats. I'm not selling merch. I'm not selling tickets. I get it. But that was sort of the thing that just felt very stunting to me in my career, of being like, damn, like I feel like I have so much more to offer and there's so many more things that I want to do. And yes, you've given me this amazing platform, but I do see where that ceiling is at. And I see more for me outside of this. And if you guys don't see that, or if that opportunity, I don't even know, it's not that they didn't see that. It's not that, it's that the opportunities just weren't there. And with the network starting and having the WWE network and the different versions of that, from when it first started to just being like all interview shows, to then it's all documentaries. Like they were really going through the growth spurts of figuring out what the network was, and I couldn't quite find the place where I wanted to land within that. To then moving over to Fox and being able to do Backstage with Fox, and that was something that scratched that bit of an itch where I was like, oh, okay, I like doing this. I like being in this studio setting. I liked working with Fox. I had such a great experience there. But then that came to an end as well, with COVID kind of shutting its doors on everything. And anyways, kind of going back to what I was saying is that, yeah, I had asked for my release several years ago, was not granted it, got to do a bunch of other things. And then on that second time, when I was like, okay, now it's really time to get off this ride. And that's sort of the reference that I come back to a lot, is getting off that ride. It's hard to find a time to leave WWE. There's never a perfect time. It just goes so fast. The fact that I was there for 8 years, like, makes my head spin, but it's like, next show, next pay-per-view. Now we're building to Mania. Now we're building to SummerSlam, and this is coming up and this new opportunity and blah, blah, blah. There's never that time to really get your foot out that other door. So with my time at commentary ending, the Fox show ended, and then COVID, we were in the middle of COVID. I was like, this is my time. I see this window, and this is my time to jump off the ride and figure it out. Which is a weird time to do that because everything else was already shut down as well. So I'm like, oh shit, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm getting off this ride.
5 years ago, why did you ask for your release?
I was just unhappy in the sense of like, just knowing that I had more to offer. And then I was just doing backstage interviews. I was still doing kickoff shows and whatnot, but like on the day-to-day weekly schedule was doing backstage interviews, which I actually loved doing. I always liked doing backstage interviews because that felt more to me like getting to flex a little bit of that acting muscle, something that I've always loved that. So I enjoyed doing that. I loved being able to have, the very subtle reactions to a heel or a baby face, and being able to help those storylines along any way that I could through that. But yeah, there wasn't that other thing for me to sink my teeth into. And there'd be times that I would sit there at Raw or SmackDown and I wasn't on the show. If there was no backstage interviews, you just sit there waiting for something to do. And I started to feel like I was really wasting time. I felt like I was wasting really important years of my career when I could be out doing more things rather than, even if I was doing something on the show, it was like a quick little, hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome my guest, blah, blah, blah. They cut me off. I'm left fucking staring off into the abyss for the camera cut. So as much as I love doing that, I know that there was more that I really had to offer and other things that I really wanted to do. So yeah, it was just trying to find that right thing to do. And then when I spoke to Kevin Dunn and I asked for my release and he said no. And I was like, oh, wait, you can say no?
What is up with that? You could break up with someone and they say, it's like a Seinfeld episode.
Yes, exactly. Like I wasn't expecting that. I was like, oh shit, what? Okay. And they were like, well, we've got other plans for you. We've got things that we want to do and whatever. So again, I'm glad that the doors did not close, that we did not end our relationship at that point in time, because there was stuff still for me to do there. But yeah, by the time I had jumped off commentary and the Fox show ended, it was just, that was the time to go.
And this time they didn't put up a fight?
No. So this time around, and I think this was also a different situation. I was under a different contract. I didn't have to ask out of my contract. I was an employee. So I gave my 2 weeks notice.
Okay.
Which was much different. So yeah, that definitely put me in a better spot to be like, okay, now I can end it, and we are ending it, and that is what it is. But I think that we both, I can't speak for them, but my opinion and the way that I feel is I think we were both kind of like, all right, we're not meeting each other, on the same playing field right now. Like, and I felt like my time in commentary really sort of lent its hand in that it left a bad taste in my mouth. I felt like my relationships with other people there had kind of maybe gone downhill a little bit, and it just wasn't a great experience. So I think stepping away from that and having sort of like that clarity afterwards and just knowing the way things work, that like, for me to take a second to myself, the commentary thing didn't go the way that I wanted it to go. And I'm sure it wasn't the way Vince wanted it to go either. And when he's not into something, it takes him a while to come back around to it. And I did not have the time to wait for him to come back around to it.
So when you say that it didn't go the way you wanted it to go, and you suspect the way he wanted it to go as well, what do you mean by that? How did you want it to go?
Well, I wanted to go better. I wanted everyone to enjoy it. I wanted to get great at it. I wanted to, I really wanted to thrive in that role. I wanted to do well at it. Obviously, nobody wants to do bad at their job, especially on a massive public platform. Of course, you want to do as well as you can. But, I really got thrown into the deep end, which is fine. I enjoy working in that world. It's okay. Throw me out there and let's sink or swim. But going out there every week for 3 hours, and you start to get in your own head, and you're being told different information, and you're just trying to get that right footing. And I never felt like I got mine. There would be certain shows where I'd be like, okay, that was fun. I like that. I feel like we had some moments. But overall, I felt like I was walking away from more shows than not, just feeling like that wasn't fun. I didn't like that. And I think a lot of people were kind of feeling that same way. And I don't mean just in terms of like my performance. I mean, of just like us having good shows and feeling like we could like high five afterwards. Like it just felt like nothing was really gelling. It was tough.
I have heard, obviously, I've watched and read about the business for a very long time. I've heard the stories of, Vince yelling in your ear. I know it's tough enough as a broadcaster to have anyone talk in your ear, let alone yell at you or make you feel worse, lose confidence, etc. Did you ever experience that?
Yeah, of course.
What is that like? Like, can you give me an example without, I know you don't want to probably reveal too much, but like, what is he saying that could be so bad to, mess with someone mentally?
So this time I wasn't on commentary for this moment, but it was after I had done commentary and I was doing a panel. I want to say it was either like the premiere of SmackDown on Fox or no, it wasn't. No, because that was LA. We were actually in Las Vegas. Anyways, we were doing a panel show where they cut to us in between the show. It was some kind of special. But anyways, Tyson Fury was on the show when he was doing his stint in WWE. And it was me, Samoa Joe, Booker T, and Beth Phoenix. I believe that's what the cast was for that crew. And I had said I was throwing to a package, blah, 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 something. The Gypsy King, Tyson Fury, throw to package. and he's in my ear and goes, "You fucking ruined it," screaming at me, telling me that I've ruined this segment because I did not refer to Tyson Fury as the lineal champion.
Oh, God.
That I referred to him as a Gypsy King, Tyson Fury, through the package. So he's screaming at me. And at this point, I am like over it. I've done the commentary thing. I'm just like, I'm a little bit hardened to all of the circumstances. So he's yelling at me about this, and I'm looking down at my notes. Maybe I'm looking to Samoa Joe, taking in this information in my ear, but he thinks I'm ignoring him. So he yells at me again. "Do you hear me? Acknowledge that you hear me." And he wanted me to like look into the camera and be like, "Yes, sir, I hear you. I understand you. I apologize." But yeah, I mean, just to be yelled at like that for a small, I didn't want to say mistake. It's not a mistake. I just didn't call him the lineal champion. I didn't know that it was that necessary, as if I had ruined the run of Tyson Fury in WWE by not calling him that. But to be yelled at like that in front of your like peers was pretty demoralizing. To just be yelled at that I had ruined a segment. I felt bad about it. Then we had to come back and do an on cam after that. And I was just like, I wanted to pull off my headset and just literally get in my car and drive home. Because at that point I had just had it.
Are you like, I consider myself proudly a sensitive person. I don't know if I would handle that very well.
Yeah.
Do you go home and like, do you cry? Do you feel, I mean, you say you want to cover your face.
I don't think I ever cried at that. Like, I can't think of a time that I had cried. There's times that I had cried during my duration in WWE for sure, and we can get into those. But as far as like being yelled at and being upset about that, not so much. It's more so, it's shocking. It's like jarring to be yelled at like that as a grown ass woman.
Right.
You're like, wait, you're talking to me like that? What the fuck? That you almost find like comedy in it to a degree of like, this is happening. And it's also like, you know, you're sitting there with your crew of people that are also on the panel. They understand what's happening. So we're all on the same page. As much as it can be embarrassing, we also all understand the circumstances in which we're working. So we can sort of roll our eyes at each other and just go, okay, he's on one today. I guess we just got to take it on the chin. And that's more what that is. But you know, there's been other times too of just having like a fuck up on air. You know, you're doing a 15-second on cam. And I remember is when Bray Wyatt was doing the Firefly Funhouse. Try saying that out loud really quick. I did that. I was like, the Firefly fly. I said it wrong. And I was like, oh fuck. But I still like threw to the thing, and he was like, yeah, you messed that one up. I was like, yeah, I did. That was my bad. But I mean, those are moments. What you're doing live TV, you're doing things on the fly. It is what it is. And, you know, as much as I can say those moments happen, and yes, you hear the stories about Vince yelling in someone's ear and whatnot. But by the time you walk back through Gorilla at the end of the show, he's over it. Like, it's not like he's holding on to this grudge of like, you did this terrible thing and now I'm going to hate you for forever. Like, it doesn't really work like that. Sometimes it does, but usually it's like by the end of the show, he's moved on to the next thing. Like, it's not even a blip on his radar. It's just that knee-jerk reaction to yell at you.
Did he ever apologize?
Oh, God, no.
Okay.
God, no.
Never?
No. I don't know. Not that I can remember. But that's just not really the way that it works there. Because I mean, even afterwards, I do have regrets that I didn't talk to him more about that, especially like the Tyson Fury thing. Like, that was one like of just being screamed at like that like I really wish I went to Gorilla, because at that point I knew that I was kind of like, I am out of here, man. Like, this is crazy. I wish that I had gone back and had a conversation with him about that a little bit more, to just to clarify. And honestly, maybe that would have made my relationship with him better. And I think that, you know, me kind of turning a little bit more insular after that and being like, oh, I'm just going to avoid him now. He screamed at me like that. I'd rather not talk to him. I should have gone the other way and probably addressed him. And maybe he would have respected me more if I had done that.
Thank you for watching this portion of the Ariel Helwani Show. For the entire conversation, I do suggest you check it out. Click here.